Hello, I am Vaughn Albury. In the year 2020, the year of the coronavirus pandemic, national examinations, including the Bahamas Junior Certificate BJC and the Bahamas General Certificate of Secondary Education BGCSE, took place, despite being delayed some 2 times. Results of those examinations were released by the Ministry of Education in December 2020. Results, though according to some were poor, the Ministry of Education deems it a success. The D grade has been a source of contention for a number of years. With me to discuss it today is Carlisle Pert, who has been a teacher here in the Bahamas for some 13 years. He taught foreign languages. Hello, Mr. Pert. Welcome.
Thank you.
Why does the D grade, the letter D, get so much attention today?
I'm very glad that the piece I wrote it to the newspaper, you all saw that, and I thought about writing about the D because I realized that as a pastor, I realize that sometimes we're not just concerned about the spiritual man, but also the entire man, okay, mentally as well. And I find that a lot of times we harp on students who do very well, the A's, the B's, but those who perform average and average level are sometimes made to feel as if they have not done anything or they're not good enough. I figure that we cannot, as human beings, we cannot really make them feel less than. If that's their ability level, we need to celebrate them.
Is that why you decided to write a letter to the editor of the Nassau Guardian?
Precisely so. Because a lot of times we always celebrate the top 10% of the schools, or of any school, is always celebrated. The top 10%. Or we call them the creme de la creme, right? But the ones who will never ever get an A, there's some students who will never get an A in life. They will never get an A because they're not A students, especially in the core subjects. But the D average, for me, if a student, I often say when I was in the classroom, if you are a D student, be the best D student you can be. If you're an A, be the best A as well. Don't perform at the B standard. Perform at your level of competency, because that is what God has called you and gifted you to do.
Now, I want to cut you off right there. What does the letter D mean to you as a teacher?
For me, it's natural that growing up, of course, and going to the system, D for me, going to school, was a failure. It was a failure. In my time,
also in my time,
D was a failure. So it's natural that once you hear the letter D, it is going to conjure up in you failure. It's natural. That's what you're taught, that D is a failure. So once you hear D, it's going to be a failure. Even when the system has changed to say, listen, D is a pass. You're always going to go back to what you know and judge the D based on what you know. So C would be the lowest pass grade there, that's average. So anything above D, so D is a pass, D is average. That means, and from my knowledge, the little I know, it means that D, a student who has gotten a D, has actually satisfied at least 50% of the requirements of the syllabus. Okay? So for a child, the Ministry of Education, which is the governing body here, that tells you, okay, D is a pass, okay? And all of a sudden, so if the ministry is saying that everybody who has gotten a D, at least 50% they get on this exam, how can you say the child has failed? Has the child failed? No, I don't think the child has failed. Especially when a child has to sit 2 hours for an exam. They study 6 years, the BGCSE, 6 years from grade 7 to 12, 6 years. And then they have to prove their worth in 2 hours. One exam has to prove their worth. And then if the ministry says D is a pass, and because they've done 50%, how can you say it's not a pass?
what Mr. Peard is saying is that the Ministry of Education's grade point scale from A to G, the letters A, B, and C are graded as above average. A, B, and C are above average. D, which in the past would have been viewed as a fail.
Yes.
D, today, under the BJC and BGCSE, is rated as average. So it's no longer fail.
It's not exactly.
You also
That's
said something earlier in our conversation in terms of competencies in different areas. Everyone is not academic. Explain that. And what does that mean for the job market? And what does that mean for employment opportunities?
Okay. We have to, in my piece where I said, are we all doctors? Are we all lawyers? Are we all teachers, mechanics? We're not all the same. You see, God made us as a whole, as a body. Like Paul equates in the book of Corinthians, we're all a part of a body. We're not all the hands. Not everybody is a foot or the heart, or we're all different parts. And we all play a role. So every single person is important, all right? The pandemic has taught us that those people we thought were not important are very much important.
That is true.
The person who is a cashier at the register in the food store and the packers packing the shelves, very important, all right? Those people who pick up our garbage, they're very important. If they don't come around, we're in trouble. So in terms of people, we have to understand, I may not be performing at an A level, get an A or B for math, but I may be a D student in math, but I may be an A in auto mechanics, or A in cosmetology, or an A or B. It doesn't mean A, it could be B or C as well. But I'm not, I don't know anybody who is a D student across the board. People have strengths here and there. Not everybody is going to be moving at the same pace. We all operate differently. Some of us are fast learners. I would say one thing in the class and maybe 5% get it the first time. The others, I say 2 or 3 times, they didn't get it yet. I have to go back home, go sit down and pray and say, Lord, please show me, reveal to me tonight how to reach that particular student. So that particular student can pass the subject. And can, when I say pass now, can even improve in the subject so the child could feel a sense of accomplishment. And you also must always pour compliments on these children. Let them know, listen, I'm proud of you. You know, you've moved. You've moved from a D to a C, or you moved from an E to a D. I'm very pleased with that. All right?
Does the system have the space to allow for that level of comprehension? Because you said some will get it easily, others it will take a longer time. Yet we continue to move them ahead to the next grade. What do you think we should do in terms of ensuring that everyone gets some level of competency?
For me, what do I think? In terms of maybe reaching every single student, because every single student can learn.
I want you to say that again.
Every single student can learn. God enables, God gave everybody a brain. We as educators, and as a former educator myself, we have to take the time to reach every single student. We cannot make a student feel less than. You often hear students come back to say, you know what happened? You believed in me. You believed in me. And I didn't know you were observing me that much. And when they hear it from you, they make a difference. So as teachers in the system and all of us who interact with students or children who go to school on a regular basis, we need to encourage them. We need to encourage them. One thing I've observed here in the Bahamas, in my 15, almost 16 years here in this country, is that the students here are very gifted in the arts. They're artistic. In terms of music, almost everybody in this country plays an instrument. For me, that was amazing, I think, because the Jonkunu brings that out in them. So A child can play the drum. Sometimes when we saw at school productions, and I led a house for when I was in system teaching, I was a house master for a house. Those children were so creative. You give them, say, listen, run with this. They came up with some great ideas. They choreographed all the moves, everything. They put on production. We just can't always grade them on academics only. They have other skills which we need to encourage them in.
And how does do the skills that they possess in the arts help with the academics, in your view?
My view, I give you one example. When I came here, I had a group of students I taught French. The students in that group, some of them couldn't get the French at all. Do you know what I did? I had to use music. I figured, you know what happened? They have to learn the French. I can't sit in this class or stand in this class teaching for a whole year and can't give them a grade. I had to make up lyrics for them to learn. I had to go home and think of a beat and a rap or something for them to learn. And sometimes we do speaking exam. If I ask them a question in French, an interview in French for speaking, they would struggle and not answer. I start singing the question, they answer me. They answered me.
In French?
In French. Because they learn the song, they learn in a beat. So once I give a beat, so I give a little like that, and the kids would remember, and they would do it. It doesn't, so I use what they like, and the drumming, they like the tapping on the desk, and they learn. They remember. So if I said, I do this, and they remember, they know what to get, they can give it to you. So you have to use their art, the arts. It's also part of the learning experience. Put it in. The drumming, put it in. Let them come and do it. Let them role play and use their gift, whatever it is, and show you that they're skilled and gifted.
I also note in your editorial to the Nassau Guardian that you commended the Ministry of Education for going ahead with the examinations and to actually pull them off.
I defended the idea of putting the exam forward, and I mean, people maybe feel as if, you're a pastor, and you don't. I'm looking beyond that. And I did say, the minister did not say everybody has to do it. It's a choice. You can choose to do the exam or not. You don't have to. You don't have to do the exam. So for me, I thought that it was a brilliant idea to go ahead with the exam, and those who did the exam, many of them were beaming with pride. They were laughing. They were celebrating because they did well. Now, and I understand that the ministry, for me, kudos to them. Kudos to the Ministry of Education, the Testing and Evaluation Division, for them to administer those exams, to find the people to invigilate, to get those teachers to mark the exams, and to release the grades in a timely manner. Kudos to them. Kudos to them. That's a mammoth task in this pandemic. And what we don't need people to be pulling down people in this COVID-19 time we're in. Because to be honest with you, COVID-19 is really giving us a hard time already. We need more positivity to get out of this thing.
There you have it, the words of Mr. Carlisle Pert, a teacher here in the Bahamas for some 16 years, and he says it was a good decision to go ahead with the national examinations despite the coronavirus pandemic. All he wants us to do is to change our mindset from what it used to be when it comes to the D as a grade, because that's a different thing today. D now means average on the BJC and the BGCSE national examinations. I am Vaughn Aubrey for the Ministry of Education.